Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me today. So this is a very near and dear topic to my heart. This is actually a book I would like to write someday. So this is my first time giving you the information, and you're my first audience. So today we're going to talk about how to live like you're leaving, how to make every day matter, and how to make the most out of each day. A year ago, a little more than that, my husband and I decided to take off and travel the world. We were newly married. We had just not even celebrated our 1-year anniversary. We had gotten married in September, and that following August, we decided we were going to pack up our home and store whatever we could in a shed, and the rest was going to come with us in a Jeep. So what I learned along the way was 10 ways to live like I was leaving. How we chose to do this, my husband's a physical therapist, so along the way we would have different rotations. Each rotation lasted 3 to 4 months, and it was going to be in a different state. So we had 1 Jeep, 15 months of travel, 2 humans, my husband and I, and 3 address changes. We were fortunate enough to start our journey in California, the northern part. We were living in a place near Walnut Creek, or a place called Concord, if anybody knows of that. And we did that rotation from August to December. Then December brought us to Arizona. And Arizona lasted for 6 months because we really enjoyed it here. And the following, and our last rotation, was Washington before we headed back to Wisconsin. The lessons that I learned along the way. Number 1, let your peace pave the way. We knew that we were really excited to start life, yet we weren't really sure where we wanted that life to be. So we thought, why not explore our options? And we let our peace pave the way. And as mentioned in the beginning, my peace for me was traveling. And lucky enough, my husband, I was able to convince him of the same. Even though he had a very stable and secure position at a hospital back home that he had been at for 8 years. He was a supervisor there. Wow. And so there was definitely this risk that we took, this leap of faith. However, for me in my life, I've always taken these risks, and they've always worked out. So I continue to let peace pave the way, and it continues to open doors for us. Number 2 was less is more. As I mentioned to you earlier, we packed up. We had a 2-bedroom home that we purchased before we were married, and we packed that entire house up either by selling things, storing it in a shed, or taking a few belongings with us. And what we realized was that our most important item that we had the entire year was this little card. And this card was a parks pass for the national parks. $80, and it provided an abundance of opportunities and experiences. Not anything that I needed from a basement or an attic. I was able to take this pass, and life was with me wherever I went. It was amazing. Number 3, it's not where you live, it is how you live that matters most. As a traveler, I can tell you I've been to probably 35 different states and over 17 different countries, and this statement is so true. It's not so much where I was, but how I was living that impacted our experiences the most. Was I being joyful? Was I being grateful? What was I focusing on? What were the things that I was choosing to make a part of my day is really what provided the joy that I felt daily. So it wasn't so much that I had to place all of my power onto an external place as much as it was more about how I felt internally along the way. And number 4, master your mind. Life is a get-to. So the more that we can think about life as a both and this was a phrase that I came up as I was traveling, because a lot of times you hear this either or. Well, I either have to settle down and get a job and pay the bills, or I can travel. And maybe this was more of how I was viewing it, like, oh, I can't do both. But the really great part about this trip was that we did both. We were working, and we were traveling, and we were living on minimal things. and we didn't have to create a big home filled with a lot of commitment or attachment. We were able to go and be, and our surroundings became our entertainment. Number 5, rise up with rituals. This has definitely been one of the most valuable gifts I got on my travels, because in the mornings, a lot of times when I was working, or my husband and I both working back in Wisconsin, it's dark until 7:30 a.m. and we'd both be leaving at about 6:50 to go to work. We wouldn't get back till about 4:30, so we're leaving in the dark and we're coming home in the dark. And in between, when it was light, we were indoors. So this was just not a very conducive lifestyle for what filled my spirit. And while we were traveling, California, Washington, Arizona, all these places had so much sunlight and so much sunshine and life happening early in the morning. And what I was able to do was wake up with that life and give thanks and move my body and have hot tea, journal. All these little morning rituals became part of what made my life so much fuller every day. When I had a great start of the day, the whole day went great. Number 6, embrace the now. Be present. This is one of my favorites. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from people in each state that we lived in, my gosh, you've seen more in these 3 months than I have seen in my whole life. I have lived here my whole life. Just the other day, we went to Antelope Canyon, and a fellow coworker was like, Antelope Canyon? What is that? I'm like, it's a couple hours down the road. How do you find these things? And again, I think this is kind of like being intentional. When you know that you only have 3 to 4 months in one spot, just like you're on vacation, you know you have 3 to 4 days maybe visiting somewhere, you're going to say, okay, where can we go here and how can we plan our time there? And then I thought, if we do this on vacation, why can't we do this every day? Why can't we be intentional with where our time goes? Why can't we be intentional with where our money goes? So this was definitely the just do it feeling and being intentional. Number 7, grow in gratitude. When we release our expectations and we replace it with appreciation, that is when things really start to flow. And that is when you really see the beauty in life. This is what happened to us. Instead of expecting that we had to do and be all these different things, we were able to just be among the nature. Yes, we set intentions for things we'd like to see, but we also had plenty of detours along the way. An interesting story here, we set out to be in Sedona. We thought Sedona was our place, and Prescott is where we ended up because the job changed. And so when we could stop and pause and realize that we just needed to appreciate what was being put in our path and trust God that we were on our path and let go of our will, we were able to enjoy so much more abundance. Number 8, build a bucket list. So again, this was just a little bit about being intentional again. We realized that if we set out, so we were able to pick the states we could go to, and once we picked the states, then within the states we could decide what were some of the things that we thought would continue to feed our soul and we wanted to see. And what we found was we were in a lot more of the nature settings, like the beaches and the mountains, instead of the big cities that we were next to, like San Francisco or Seattle. And so it was really good to take some of those detours, yet have an overall list that guided us. Next was believe in better. Obviously, being from Wisconsin, we saw one part of the world, and we were able to really appreciate our friends and family, and that is what grounded